Hi, everybody. I am going to guess that we're live. Welcome to a very cozy afternoon in the craft room on a Saturday. I think it's February 25th today. It's very cold out there, and I understand it's very cold in a lot of places in North America today. So staying inside and doing some crochet is just perfect. I think that's what we all want to do. I figured I have to stitch together the squares that we did a tutorial for on Friday. It's a two-part series. The second video is coming very soon, maybe like Monday, Tuesday this week. But I thought while I was stitching together all the squares, maybe we just hang out. And I thought it might be kind of fun to discuss all the different ways that you can assemble squares or really any motif into a larger project. In particular, blankets. I know motifs get used for a lot of different projects, but I thought maybe we would sort of just focus more on like blankets, even just specifically baby blankets today, because there are some joins, some methods more so than others that you might want to use if you're making a baby blanket. Anyway, that's kind of what the plan is. So I was just going to like load up my needle. Welcome everybody. Mr. InStitches has been put back down the well today. So you might hear him in the background. You might not. We are still working on our technical setup. It is probably going to require some new tech, which we need to put some research into, which we will probably need to get out and get. And when it's cold, snowy, icy winter here in Canada, you really have to dangle a big carrot in front of me to get me outside. I do like some outside sports, but not when it's like -20. And it's about -20 out there right now, -20 Celsius. So no thanks. I like the sunshine, but I don't like the biting wind and the heaps of snow and ice. So crochet it is. I'm going to be, just to let you know, we're going to run the video tutorial for the granny square, and let me just pull them up here. It's this sweet little thing. It's our new 6-inch polka dot granny square. So this is the 6-inch version of a 12-inch version that we actually have in our shop already, but this is the baby version. So 6 inches. The polka dot, I did 6 of each. So 6 with a white center, pink background, 6 with a pink center, white background. That was Friday's tutorial. I know it's Saturday, and a lot of you kind of pop in on Saturday and Sunday and kind of catch up with whatever the tutorial was on Friday. So we thought, in case you wanted to kind of hang out with us live this afternoon, since I'm working with these squares, Mr. InStitches is going to run Friday's tutorial on making the squares somewhere around here, I think. So if you kind of want to watch that or kind of make a couple squares, if you were going to make some of these, but you don't want to try and run 2 videos at the same time, we'll have it running there. So that's the idea. I'm in the process of putting mine together. I'm using the mattress stitch, or the ladder stitch as I call it, because, so I'm trying to jump right into that. There is a video coming for this, so don't worry, this isn't the tutorial. This is just hanging out with me as I stitch all these together. We are putting together part 2 of this baby blanket project. That tutorial is coming, I don't know, early next week, Monday, Tuesday, like I should say early this week, Monday or Tuesday, somewhere in there. And I'm joining with the ladder stitch. So we just did a tutorial on the ladder stitch for the Tunisian squares, and it's the same process. So I'm going to show it briefly in the tutorial that's coming this week, but if you need additional help, that's the tutorial to go look at, because we went into depth on how to use the ladder stitch. And I'm using the ladder stitch for a couple of reasons on this baby blanket. One, because I'm alternating the colors of my squares to get that sort of fun, almost like a 1960s like polka dot mod kind of look. When you use the ladder stitch, it's an invisible join. So it doesn't matter which colored yarn you use, you won't see the actual stitching. So if you look very closely at the join, the sort of the seams between the squares on this first row that I've put together, I'll even show you the back. You cannot probably tell me which color I used to join them together, which is the whole point. So when you're joining squares that have different colors, like the squares themselves don't have matching border colors, the mattress stitch or the ladder stitch is an excellent choice for that, because you won't be distracted by the stitching in between the squares. Having said that, if you want to make the stitching stand out, like you're going for, like you actually want the stitching and the joining and the seams between the squares to kind of be part of the overall design, then the single crochet stitch is a great choice. It is also a nice firm join. It's strong, it's crochet, so some people probably find that a little more comfortable in sewing the stitches or sewing the squares together. But it's very obvious because you're creating basically a ridge between your squares. So if you're going to join them all together and use a uniform color throughout the entire blanket, then that's a really neat design choice. It uses up more yarn than sewing, like this one does. And but it's still like a nice strong join. So I like the mattress stitch because it's a strong join. There's no gaps between the squares. And it's the same thing with single crochet or slip stitching your squares together. You'll get a nice strong join and there won't be like any gaps there. So those are good choices. And whip stitch too. If all of your squares are the same color next to each other, then the whip stitch is fine. It's just, it's an obvious seam. You'll see the whip stitch if you use a color that stands out. But it's also a nice, easy sewing method. It also doesn't take up a whole lot of yarn. So if you're nearing the end of a project and you're running out of yarn, then you might want to look at sewing your squares together versus crocheting them together, because the sewing is going to take up less yarn. And on that note, I'm going to pull out, I'm going to grab some pink yarn here, length of pink. I'm going to thread up my yarn needle and start stitching together my next row of squares. So what have I got? Okay, so my next row, I'm going to alternate. So for this blanket, I've got 12 squares. I'm doing 4 rows of 3 squares each. So I started with white, pink, white, and then I'm going to go pink, white, pink. And then I'm going to go white, pink, white, pink, white, pink. So it's going to have this fun, like I said, that 1960s kind of mod kind of look to it. I'm really leaning into this whole vintage thing I find this year. This year is all about like the 50s, the 40s, the 60s. Like I'm liking all this kind of throwback aesthetic. Cup of tea. All right, here I go. So I've got all 3 of the squares that I'm going to have in my second row. I always lay the entire blanket out first and then make sure I like the placement of all the squares. And then I pile them up per row. So for example, this is pink, white, pink. This is row 2. This is white, pink, white. That's row 3. And then pink, white, pink again for row 4. Because I'm using the ladder stitch, it doesn't matter what color I'm using to join them together because you won't see the actual stitchery. So I just grabbed pink because it was close at hand. And I'm going to make sure that I have, as if you watched the mattress or ladder stitch tutorial that we did, you'll notice that when you're joining them together, it's helpful to have them right sides facing up or right sides facing out if you're kind of working through them, working along it. If you're going to hold them like this and work sideways versus having them sort of sit flat on a desk and like work from bottom to top. It's just, that's basically, it's the same stitch. It's just how comfortable you are. Maybe some people aren't so comfortable holding them together and some people are more comfortable kind of just working on their lap or working on a flat table, but you want to be looking at the right side of the square. And by the right side, I mean the pretty side. This square, everything's made going in the same direction. So you have a definite right side, which is that side, and a definite wrong side, which is sort of the other side of the stitching. So the wrong side of the stitches are all on one side of the square. The right side are all on the other side of the square. And I'm just going to take my first 2 squares, place them together. I'm joining my yarn in the, sort of attaching it with a knot, nothing fancy. I'm going to come back and sew all of my little, or weave all my little tails in, but just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, I'm attaching it with a knot on one side. So on the, sort of on the back of one square. And then I'm just going to start. So up through that one. So as you know, the ladder stitch is you're kind of working through 2 sets of stitches at a time, and they run parallel to each other, and you get like this ladder effect going. I'm going to do a couple and I'll just show you. Like I said, we're going to show all this in the tutorial that's coming up this week, and we already have a ladder stitch tutorial. It's my new favorite way to join squares together because I just love how it disappears. It's so cool. So I'm just going to get a couple stitches going. I think my biggest challenge when I'm doing the ladder stitch is to try not to split the yarn of the stitches that I'm going through. Not that I've found it makes a big difference if I do, but I try not to split it. Okay, so here's what I mean by the ladder stitch. You're going on, say, this side first. You go out, in and out between a stitch and the stitch next to it. And then you look at the other square and you find the 2 stitches that sit immediately opposite the 2 stitches here that you just worked through, and you go in and out through those stitches. And then you flip back over here, you go in and out through the next set, in and out, in and out, in and out. And what you get is this cute little rung effect between the squares. You do that a few times. I usually do like 3 sets of that. And then I hold the 2 squares together. I hold them at the bottom corners. You pull on your working thread. And then all of that stitching just completely disappears. It's so cool. And then when you tighten it up, so you pull it taut, and then you get the stitching completely disappears, and you can't really see. You can't see the yarn on the white, and it would of course completely blend in with the pink. So that's how I'm joining the squares. And I was going to sit here and quickly sew together all 3 rows that I had remaining, and then try and get the rows together too. And that is what I'm up to. Boy, it's so funny sitting here in the craft room chatting with you guys and not having Mr. InStitches immediately next to me.
I'm still here.
Making noise. How busy is the chat, Mr. InStitches?
The chat is quite busy. We are getting super chats, membership milestones.
Oh, golly.
And someone just gifted a membership.
Oh my gosh.
So congratulations to the winner.
Thank you, guys.
Check the name.
That's so
thank
fun.
you for that.
That is great.
Yeah, no, it's great. Everyone's chit-chatting.
Everybody's hanging out on Saturday. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for the support. Thank you. I love this new gift and membership feature.
It's
fantastic. Is so much fun. Then you get to sort of try out membership for a month and see what sort of other silly, ridiculous antics we get up to around here. I also just love the prospect of everybody having a nice kind of place to hang out. It's kind of like a virtual sitting room. Does that kind of make sense? I feel like everybody's kind of virtually sitting in somebody's living room, and we're all kind of just working on a crochet projects together. I love that. And this is kind of fun too, to kind of give you just like a little bit of behind the scenes. You know, we're partway through working on the second part of that baby blanket, and I have to attach all the squares. So
let everyone know the written pattern's coming.
It is, yes.
It's just not out yet.
Thank you.
Some people are looking for it.
Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for the reminder. We will have the pattern coming to our Etsy shop. It's going to, we're holding off though, because we want to put out the other video so that you can see the entire project. The pattern's going to include the granny square, obviously, instructions for making the size blanket that I'm making, a slightly larger blanket, so specific instructions on how much yardage you'll need. Although if you're using Pound of Love, you can make an adult-sized blanket. There's so much yarn in these balls of yarn. So there's going to be specific sort of yardage for those two size projects, and like just sort of a general rule of thumb of how to figure out how much you need depending on how much bigger you go, because each of these squares needs around 30 yards. And then there's going to be instructions on the ladder or the mattress stitch that I'm using to join them together, and reasons why you would choose that versus maybe the whip stitch, which you can also use, or single crochet or slip stitch. It's entirely up to you. And then also a border, because the video that we're doing is going to be joining them together and then adding a border, because it's a complete baby blanket project. So we're holding off on putting out the pattern for that because I want to make sure that I've got some nice photographs to include in that. And I have to make the blanket before I can get photographs. So yes, the pattern is coming. Thank you so much for all of you who've asked. There are a few people asking in comments under the video on Friday, and I hope I got to everybody. I was sort of answering some comments just before we decided to live stream today. Some really fun questions and some awesome ideas. Alan said it reminded him of Twister. He's absolutely right. And I love that idea. And also, we've got a 12-inch version of this square in our shop right now. It's called the solid colored 12-inch fancy granny, I think. It's designed to be used with our fancy granny 12-inch series, which is like the 2017 calendar blanket. Although now we've got something like 24, 25 different fancy grannies, 12-inch grannies that all work together. And people were asking for just a solid colored one because they wanted to be able to go like fancy square and then solid color, fancy square, solid color. So we designed one. And of course, the first 6 rows can also be done in a different color before you switch to the background. And that you could totally make a Twister board out of. And I just think that would be such a cool blanket to actually look like the Twister game. I loved that game as a kid. I thought Twister was so much fun. I think if I tried to play Twister now, I'd probably break both my wrists and snap my neck. So I'll watch other people play. But I loved that. I just loved that game. It was so much fun. Just absolute silliness. But what an attractive game board, and that would make such a pretty blanket. So yeah, Alan thinking that I'm like, I might have to make one. I don't know. It's just it's such a cute idea. When I get to the top, oh, I love this. I just love this. Look how neat and tidy that seam is. So neat and tidy. I've used the pink. So if you look really carefully on the back, you can see just a little bit of pink on the white side, but you're almost not sure. Like, it's such a pretty neat join. You're not really sure that maybe that isn't just part of the crochet. Oh, it's so pretty. That's the back. That's the front. It's such a smooth join. I love it. Other people were saying that this would make a great scrap busting project. Totally agree. How absolutely adorable would a blanket made out of a whole bunch of these be, where they're just any 2 colors you want to put together and then you join them all. I think that would just be adorable. And then I thought you could use this to do a temperature blanket. You could do high-low, or you could do like different days of the week temperature all in one square and do like only so many squares. I thought that would be really cute too. Fun scrap busting project. When I get to the end of a seam, whether it's between 2 squares or 2 whole rows, I just finish off and make sure I'm on the side, the blanket, the square side with the color that matches. And I just kind of bring it to the back or the wrong side, make a tiny little knot, and then weave the tail in back and forth. Like, nothing fancy. I just know that if I knot off the yarn, it won't come undone on me. And then if I weave the tail in a little bit, it will be nice and neat and tidy, and you won't see it. So that's all I'm doing as I go. So that's that one. And a little yarn left over. I'll use that for something. And I'm just going to weave in this other little tail up top. There. Okay. Lovely. Love it. If you get your squares together while you're joining and you notice that you've got like little dips or maybe they look a little uneven, don't worry about it. That's just part of the joining process. Once you get the rows put together, you can, while you're sort of stitching across the seam between rows, you can kind of adjust that when you get there. It'll disappear. Or if that's the actual top or bottom edge, the outer edge of your blanket, it'll also disappear when you put your border on. So don't stress things like, you know, a slight unevenness between your squares or a little dip in the corners, and that all disappears when you move to the next step. So if you're new to making blankets, not a big deal. That's the thing I like about crochet. Most of the time you can fix it as you go. Now I'm left with the question of, do I continue with this string and tie in a bit more, or do I put this aside and turn it into like a little tiny super scrap project? You know what? I think I might just put it aside and cut myself a new strand. Does anybody else do that? You kind of look at a length of string and go, are you enough to do what I want to do with, or am I going to have to put in a knot? Will that slow me down? I do that all the time. I'm always sort of looking at it going, is that going to slow me down? I hear giggling coming from the well.
I'm reading the chat down here in the well. I have a big wire that comes all the way down the well with my little laptop. Everyone was asking if you're feeding me down here.
Aw, yes, I am.
I would just like to shout out everyone who's joined us today. We're getting all kinds of membership milestones and super stickers and super chats. So big thank you to everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm doing my best to shout you out on screen. I hope you can see it.
If we can, maybe we'll have a few of those read out later. I know it's a lot for Mr. Stitches to run between rooms and to keep an eye on everything. So I thank you so much, guys. I do get to go back and see it all afterwards. So oh, and that reminds me. Some people have been complaining that they can't see the replay on the live chat. We have it selected to replay. So depending on the device you're on, it may or may not work. It is a known bug at YouTube and they are working on it. So if you're wondering why you can't see the live chat if you're watching this later on replay, it's nothing you've done. It's nothing we've done. It's kind of some problem that they're having at YouTube right now. So just to pass that on, because a lot of people kind of commented about that on one of the last two videos we did, and we've brought it up with YouTube, and apparently a lot of other people have too. So that's hopefully going to get fixed. They are looking into it.
Lots of our viewers today are saying that we brightened up their Saturday.
Oh, good.
So I'm happy to hear that.
I'm happy to hear that too. I hope we've warmed up your Saturday. That was a big kind of big thing about going live today. It is so cold out there. When it's, I don't know if I'm sure there are a lot of parts of the states that go through this too, especially like the Midwestern states and the northern states. When it gets so cold at night, your house snaps, like you hear like boom coming from the roof, or the wall suddenly snaps, or if you have like a bathroom that's got an outside wall, the shower stall or the bathtub will crack in the middle of the night. Oh, it's that cold. It is house snapping cold right now. All right, I'm going to start this next couple of squares. Sometimes I find it comfortable to work on my lap. Sometimes I find it comfortable to kind of hold it up in my face. I don't know. It depends on, I guess, what I'm doing. Right now, I'm sitting here in a very comfortable chair with my legs crossed. So this seems to be like a nice distance away from my aging eyes. I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm gonna try to show you how cool this looks. So there's my little bit of rung activity. Then I'm gonna put my needle down here. I'm gonna hold the tops together. So right there, grab the string, wherever it went, and then pull gently but firmly. And then that seam appears, that beautiful, neat, even seam. It's like a magical little join method. I absolutely love it. It's my new go-to, I have to say. I used to really prefer whip stitching just because I found it really fast. I come from a sewing background, so sewing things together by hand has always been kind of a comfortable go-to for me because I feel like I have control over what's happening working, stitch by stitch. I like single crochet and I like slip stitching motifs together, depending on kind of the look I'm going for. But often when I'm working on a modular project like a blanket, I'm scraping the bottom of the yarn barrel by the time I get to the end. So I usually don't have enough yarn left over to do a single crochet join or even a slip stitch join. So that's another reason I always kind of defaulted to whip stitching everything together. But I really love this mattress stitch or the ladder stitch. I don't know why it's called the mattress stitch. I always thought the mattress stitch, again, this is that thing. I thought the mattress stitch was another name for the overlock stitch or the, what's that one called? The blanket stitch. The one that you often see along the edge of a blanket where you kind of you go around, but then you also loop underneath. Like you run the needle underneath the loop you just made, and then it creates this nice little even line, like thread line running across the very edge of your edge of the blanket in between the visible stitches. That's called a blanket stitch. I also thought that the mattress stitch may have been another name for that, just because I assumed the mattress stitch to be visible. This is invisible. So I don't know. I keep running into the same the use of the same method but with different names, and it's because the internet is bringing us all together, and it's bringing together all these different schools of thought and creativity that have been using the same techniques for, in some cases, hundreds of years. And as people kind of learned it but then slowly migrated outwards from maybe the original place where they learned it, language has changed the name of the pattern or the method or the technique. And so now, whoop, we've all come back together thanks to the internet, and we've all got like different names for the same technique. I think I found 6 different references to what I always knew as the cinch circle since I got on the internet 20 some odd years ago. So I always knew it as a cinch circle. A lot of people call it the magic circle. But in most of the writing I've come across, like the actual books, it's called a sliding loop or a sliding ring, a slip ring and a slip loop. So I've seen all 6 of those and they reference the exact same thing. So it's no wonder that newbies get confused because if you say, oh, well, you want to use the mattress stitch, and the mattress stitch is, means one thing to one person and something completely different to someone else, it's no wonder. So I love the internet for that, because then people kind of go, oh, is that what you call the mattress stitch? That's what I call the ladder stitch. I just love how neat and tidy that edge is. The seam is so simple, so clean. And it's really it's not hard. Like once you sort of sit down and you just kind of, I don't know if you can see, but I like to just sort of hold the 2 ends of the square. Working with small squares too is so much easier than bigger ones. I love 6-inch squares. I love the size of 8-inch squares. I love the size of 12-inch squares. I've even worked with some 16-inch squares, but I think once you get past the 12-inch square size, you're starting to get a little too large for easy lap work. That could just be me. I do like 16-inch squares, create a bigger blanket with fewer motifs. But the 6-inch squares are so simple and small, and I feel like they whip up fast because they're, in most cases, they're only like 6 rows or just a few rows, and they're not very big. You feel like you're making progress faster. That could just be my attention deficit disorder talking. I'm not sure. And there's nothing like a nice hot cup of tea on a cold, snowy, icy winter day. I hope everybody has something warm and cozy to drink. If you're in a hot climate, then I sincerely hope you're sipping on something cool. Either way, I hope we're all feeling refreshed. I am just nearing the end of another little seam. So neat and tidy. Flip it over, knot it on the back, weave in the tail, and that is row 2 seamed together. That leaves me with 2 more rows.
How's it going in there?
Good. How's it going out there?
Not so bad.
Not so bad?
Very busy chat today.
Oh, good. What am I missing?
Well, everything.
Just rub it in.
You're missing the whole party, actually.
Aw,
You're the
shucks.
only one by yourself in this room.
I'm the only one.
Everyone's just having a great time
Good.
watching you crochet. There's been a few questions about the squares that you're working on.
Sure.
That tutorial just launched yesterday. So
Yeah.
if you go to our channel homepage, it'll be right up top.
Are you running it too next to me?
I am running it
Okay,
at
great.
the bottom of the screen.
Okay, super duper.
And a few people were asking about how to gift the memberships. I think you might have to turn that on your account to even see that ability. I don't think it just shows up. I think you have to turn it on.
Is that like in settings?
I'm not sure how. I don't remember.
It's so new that
Yeah.
even we're not.
But you have to go
entirely
into
sure.
your settings and like accept gifting or I don't know, something like that. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
What else? A lot of people are very thankful to you for teaching them how to do the granny square and make the Tunisian and all kinds of
Glad to hear
big
it.
thank yous to Jayda and Stitches.
Glad to hear
for
we're
your
being helpful.
Fantastic tutorial.
Thanks, guys. We're happy to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I can't read everything out. I'd be talking all day, so.
Understood.
But I'm trying to get to everyone in the chat
Good.
as best I can.
Thanks. I will go through and read it all later.
Oh, a lot of people are asking for the granny square game, and I just want everyone to know it's coming.
It's coming.
It's just that we have to set up for it, and we need a lot of space, and we're not quite set up.
We need to be in the same room
We're
to
not
do
set
that.
up with the space, we have to set up our space for it.
Yeah.
We just haven't gotten around to that right now.
Yeah.
So. Well, we're getting there.
We are getting there. I'm still kind of trying to decide that when we left off at the granny square, we were working using the mesh granny square, which is a very summery kind of thing. We could pick up with that one again.
It's been about almost a year.
But
it's been over a year.
It might be fun to do something like use this one
too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great
Right?
idea. Yeah.
I think that would be fun. In fact, I just had an
idea.
idea.
Light bulb moment. I just want to reiterate that we will have the part 2.
Yes.
So what Jayda's doing right now will be in a tutorial.
Yes, joining
and that pattern once the videos are done, the written pattern will be done and in the
It'll be up in the
but it's not available now because few people were asking about that.
We will. We'll make a post on the community
I'm going
tab
back into my little hole.
Down to your well. Thank you, Mister. So that's row 2, all stitched together, nice and neat and tidy. I'll just put that. So row 1, row 2, and now you can sort of see what I mean by that 1960s kind of mod polka dot thing. So I'm going to alternate.
Oh, one more
so
thing.
Cute.
A lot of people were asking about the gaming channel, question mark. Yes, we do plan to do more of the gaming and crochet.
Yes.
The naughty nerds are not going to quit.
No.
We do not quit on difficult games, even if they're yonder.
Even if they're super
the Cloud
sweet.
Catcher Chronicles.
Sweet and cute, full of kittens. Speaking of which,
we might do another one tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll see. And if we do, we'll notify members.
Yes.
If we do.
If we do.
Yeah.
If we do, we'll totally notify members. I have an idea.
We do those on the Mr. and Stitches channel, just so everyone knows, not on Jayda.
Because we know not everybody's into gaming.
Yeah.
We're nerdy nodders around here, or naughty nerds. I'm not sure how you want to spin that, but Mr. and I both love video games, and I love crochet, and mixing the two together is probably like the perfect afternoon for me. We did our first kind of nerdy nodding live stream on the Mister's channel on Valentine's Day, just to try it out. Like I said, we're experimenting with different technical stuff, some different software, some different technical things, and we don't always want to use you guys as guinea pigs here. So we thought we would try it on his channel, and it was just a lot of fun. And then we did it again on, was it last Sunday, I think?
I think it was last Sunday, yeah.
Excuse me. Anybody else have trouble like doing basic things like swallowing liquids?
Taking a sip of liquid.
I do this all the time. I try to take a sip of water or something and I choke on it. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah, so I think we did the second one just for fun on Sunday, and it was just a really fun, chill hangout session. I was working on these squares, as a matter of fact. I was kind of cagey about it, but I was working on those squares, and it was just a fun way to kind of hang out. I have a plan. I don't know. The next time, if we sit and do another one, and we probably will, because it was a lot of fun. I have something I want to try. You know me and these ideas that occur to me while we're in the middle of things. So I think the video game we were playing is Yonder Cloud Catcher Chronicles. It's just a sweet little gentle RPG game. It's actually quite nice to sit and watch. It looks like you're watching like an animated movie. It's really nice. I found it kind of inspiring, so I have a some silly little project I might want to try while we're sitting and doing that. But like I said, that is may or may not happen. We're not sure, but it probably will because we did enjoy it. But today I wanted to get all these stitched together so I can get the border on. And I thought, well, if I'm going to sit here and stitch them all together anyway, I might as well try and hang out with everybody, or at least, you know.
Tori wants you to know that Lily says hi.
Hi, Lily.
And Nico gifted another membership.
Hey, thank you.
Big congratulations to Charlene.
All right, Charlene, that's great. Yeah, we're still kind of getting this figured out. If you have, there's a little prompt that will kind of turn on if you're watching live and you've got the live chat open. And it'll say something like accept gifts for this channel. I think that's how it goes. If you do that, then if somebody purchases a membership as a gift, then you can then win it. It's like it's kind of like an algorithmic roulette wheel. So if somebody purchases a membership like as a gift, then it kind of goes into the sort of the spinning roulette wheel, and anybody who is not yet a member, who's subscribed to the channel, and who has the algorithm kind of looks at like things like how much watch time there is and how much live watch time there is and all these other little things, then it kind of like it distributes them based on that, but you have to have accept gifts turned on.
Yes.
Which is kind of a fun thing.
It's called allow gifts.
Allow gifts, yeah.
Yeah, you have to turn it on.
Yeah.
But I don't know where to go.
I don't know either. In fact, I do know that it sometimes shows up on the actual.
We need the naughty nerds in the chat.
We need the naughty nerds in the chat.
Naughty nerds.
It's a really cool feature, but it's new, so we're still kind of figuring it out too.
Lily loves you.
Aw, thanks, Lily. It's nice to be able to sit here and get a little work done. I think that's the fun of these live streams, is that if you are making something, chances are you have an end date in mind. Like you're making it for someone, you know, maybe it's a gift. Maybe it's just for you, but you want to get it done because, you know, you want to decorate with it or you want to use it or whatever the plan is. Sometimes it's hard to motivate ourselves to sit down and get a little bit of work done. I find it's easier to sit and get some crochet done if the TV is on, but it's not something I have to pay attention to. So like a live stream where somebody like me is just sort of babbling away constantly about something crochet related. It's sort of like what is like, it's like unimportant. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's just like, it's not something you have to pay attention to. It's not like, oh, I'm going to get quizzed on this later, or oh, this is such an engaging, story. I can't do anything but pay close attention to it. It's just company. It's like nice company. You're sitting on somebody's front porch in the summer, sipping a lemonade and just shooting the breeze, talking about whatever it is that kind of comes into your mind. That's kind of how I see this. I don't know if that sounds silly, but I like that image. I also like the idea of it being summer because it's so cold out there. That is just so, I just can't get past this. I cannot get over how smooth and neat and tidy that seam is. I love it. I just love that seam. Not that on the back. Little tiny knot, completely invisible. And then I will weave in my tail. Very busy week ahead of us here at the channel. We've got, what do I do with my scissors? Oh, we're going to get the part 2 of the video out, like I said, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, and that'll include sort of the technique I'm using, the little join method, and also the border that we're going to put on it. So that'll complete the baby granny square blanket. And then Friday, we're already into March, which I'm heartily excited about. One of the things I do like about February is that it's blissfully short. It's only, 4 short weeks. I feel like February, even though it's cold and sometimes very dark, it kind of goes a little fast. Certainly goes faster feeling than January. January, I know it's like, what is it, like 3 days longer than February, but it feels like those 3 days feel like an extra week when it's dark and cold out. So February is short. I love it when February, kind of comes in, because that means January's finished, and then February usually leaves just as quickly, which is very nice of it. And we find ourselves in March, and March starts this week, which means Friday will be first Friday in March, means it's the next calendar blanket installment already. I've been watching everybody kind of hypothesizing what they think March is going to be, and I'm loving it because a lot of it makes me giggle. And I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. And so that's Friday. So Monday or Tuesday, we're going to have the part 2 of the blanket, and then for the baby blanket, and then Friday is going to be Fair Isle style calendar blanket March already, which I feel like it came up quickly, but I was expecting it to come up quickly, so it didn't surprise me because February is short. So I'm happy about that. All right, let's do this one. So I'm going to attach my yarn to the back of the pink square, just because I'm using pink yarn for joining. Weave that in later. And off I go. Another seam to complete. I find I most often split my yarn while I'm doing this join technique when I come back up through the second stitch on, doesn't matter what side, usually the side furthest from me. I tend to split the yarn at that point. Again, not that I've noticed it to be a problem, but it's almost like it's just that one little, even if it looks like I caught the whole thing, sometimes it just maybe it's just a trick of the I don't know. Could be just a trick of what I'm looking at. Not a big deal though. I don't manage to split it on this side, but sometimes I manage to split it on the side opposite me. I don't know. Could just be the way the stitch is being pulled. I'm not sure. Needless to say, not doesn't matter because when you're finished and you pull everything taut, you've got this lovely neat seam and you don't see any split stitches or funny like pulls on the yarn or anything. So it's a very forgiving technique. I like that when it comes to crochet. I like being able to, I'm going to use the word cheat stuff together and sort of be able to fix things as I go. I kind of like that. Makes me feel like I have more control over what I'm doing. And as a result, I'm less likely to make a mistake. Or if I do make a mistake, I can kind of cover it as I go. You know, we're our own worst critics. Like if you make an entire blanket and there's one tiny infinitesimal little mistake in it, you can see it. Nobody else can, but like you can. And it'll drive you crazy like forever because you're staring at that one thing that you know is out of place. Nobody else can see it though. And yet we beat ourselves up over it. I don't know why we're so mean. Okay, one last little stitch over here. There we go. Pull that taut. Ba-ba! Oh, that's so cool. And I will bring that through here and knot it on the back, weave it in, and that will be
a question from one of our channel members.
Row 3. Sure.
Bella, do you ever have problems with your cinch circle coming loose?
No, I think the reason that sometimes that happens is because there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, when you make the circle, you want to make sure that you're going, you can make a cinch circle backwards, and if you make it so that the short tail, how do I explain this? I am really not good at explaining this. When you make the cinch circle, you want to make sure that all the work is being done with the working yarn and not the little short tail, because the short tail will come undone if it's part of making the knot. It should just be stationary when you're making the knot, like that chain 1 to secure the circle. That should all be done with the working yarn and not the short end. Secondly, if your short end is too short, and you've got slippery yarn, or there's a lot of torque and twisting happening around that cinch circle area, it might want to jimmy itself loose, but it won't do that if you have a long enough tail and you weave that tail in back and forth and back and forth. Then it'll lock itself in place and it won't allow that circle to open up. So if you have a problem with your circles loosening or opening up, and you know you're making it right, like you're doing all the work with the long working end of the tail. Let me try to explain that using actual yarn. Let me just weave this in here. 1 second, please. I'll get this out of my, I might even be able to, I think I've got a tail handy in there. Scissors, okay. So, get some demonstration yarn here. Nice bright red. When you're making a cinch circle, you don't want to use this end to do any of the work. So that's the little tail, and you want to do all of like create the loop with the working tail, bring that loop, through it to create that other loop. That's where your crochet hook goes in there, and then it's kind of like making a slip knot, right? So this end shouldn't really be doing any of the work. All of the actual work is being done with this. If I grab a hook, again, I'm holding that end, but I'm doing all the wrapping with the long part. I take my hook, I go through the loop, I'm grabbing the working tail and bringing it up to create a loop, and then I'm crocheting with the working yarn. So this little guy does nothing but just kind of get held. But then you want it to be fairly long. I make mine short because I don't have a problem with them coming undone, but I also have I don't typically use slippery yarns, and I tend to crochet pretty tightly. And when I tighten up on that cinch circle, I often end up with quite a lot of tail. And then I weave it in back and forth, and then it just locks itself in place and it's not going anywhere. So go with the longer, just leave yourself some longer tail and make sure you really weave it in back and forth. And don't just go 1, 2, and then trim it. Weave it in, go the other way, go back the other way, maybe even go back the other way again. Or if you're, go around the circle a couple times, and then it won't want to undo. Good question, though. Because some people run into the same problem when they do a chained ring circle, especially in a granny square. And the reason that things want to loosen up in the center at all is because when you start from a center and you build outward, a lot of tension, torque, weight, there's a lot of activity all orbiting that little tiny center. And so the bigger you make a granny square, you might see it sort of tending to warp, or maybe the outside stitches look tighter and the inside stitches look kind of pulled or large or looser. So it's because all of the bigger you make a blanket or the bigger you make a motif, the heavier it gets. But that weight is only distributed around the very middle of that square. It's just kind of the way it's built. So here's your tiny little center, and the weight of that square is pulling on the center at all times, especially with a traditional granny square. And the bigger it gets, the heavier it gets, and the more that weight is always kind of pulling, but eventually it's pulling through the center of the square. And if I had a better physics language, I'd probably be able to explain why that happens. I just know that that's what's happening. All of that weight is being distributed through the center, and it's constantly pulling, no matter what direction, because it's a circle. Ultimately, it's a circle. It's pulling on that middle, and that is going to want to loosen up the stitches. And then if you washed it a couple times and it eases up and your tension was kind of on the loose side, let's say you're easy to begin with, then it just gives it more room to loosen up. But having that tail woven back and forth in a few times and being really, really tight with it when you cinched up, I feel like that would probably fix your problems in that regard, because I don't have problems with mine coming undone, but I know that's because I pull really tightly on the circle when I cinch it up, and then I always weave in as much tail as there is. I weave it all in. I don't trim it because I want to make sure it's not going to come undone on me. All right, I just finished row 3. I have row 4 to put together. Gonna weave in that little tail.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks, honey.
There's a lot of shenanigans going on in the chat.
I imagine there is.
There's some heavy-duty shenanigans. We got a lot of comedians in our community.
Okay, last one. I'm going to pull out some more yarn. Where's my end gone? There it is. I'll leave the scissors in my lap. Okay, so last row, and then I'm going to start actually putting the rows together. So I'm going to join it. Here. And there we go. All right. Away to the races. So if the squares are small, this is another reason I like small motifs when I'm sort of building something. I find them really, like, I can kind of hold them in one hand. The bigger they get, while beautiful, the more unwieldy they become, or the heavier they become. So I can't necessarily hold them in one hand while I'm in the air, mind you, because I'm able to sort of hold them in the air while I stitch them together, because they're not heavy. And because they're not heavy, the weight of them aren't pulling on the seams or kind of weighting down my arms. So another reason I like little motifs, really, for any project.
Some of our viewers and members would like to see the blanket that's behind you.
Ah, That is not a blanket. there is technically a blanket behind me. One second. So this is the waterfall scarf we did back in November. We have a tutorial for this. That is homespun by Lion Brand. That super bulky, super soft, really kind of shiny yarn. Love it. Good for big bulky stitch work like this. I don't recommend homespun for small work like endless single crochet or endless half double crochet because it's just too thick and too fluffy and it makes it difficult to see what you're doing. But that is...
What did we title that one?
That is so pretty. It's the waterfall scarf.
Oh yeah, that was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was back in November. And then this is the actual blanket. A lot of you might recognize this. This is the primrose blanket I made during a live stream several years ago. Hang on one second. It's big. I'll stand up with it. Where is the top? It's a full size.
The primrose?
Yeah. I love the primrose stitch. I love it. I think the primrose stitch is right up there. This goes all the way down to the floor. This is a big blanket. This is primrose stitch is one of my favorites. We've made so many projects using it. It was the February stitch in the Victorian Stitch Sampler calendar blanket that we did back in, what was that, 2019? Or 2018? 2018. It's just such a beautiful stitch. It's so agreeable. It's so easy. It's just a simple 2-row repeater, but it ends up looking so fancy. And then I just did really big color stripes of it because I was using up a couple big balls of yarn.
Another big shout out to Nico, keeps gifting people membership.
Thanks, Nico. Thank you for helping out. That's so fun. That makes
today's recent winner is Linda.
Linda is the most recent winner. That's great. Thanks, guys. Anyway, we've got a tutorial on how to use the primrose stitch and how you can create a blanket from scratch with it, like I did here. And I think that we detail all that in the primrose tutorial that's part of the blanket. But I think that information is also in the description box if you need to see it of that particular tutorial. We'll link it down below if you want later. It makes an absolutely gorgeous blanket. It's a really nice blanket. It's quite warm. In fact, I'm just realizing how cozy this is. This one's big. I used probably, I don't remember exactly, but probably like a 7mm hook, because that's like my favorite hook for making blankets and Afghans with. I often make a lot of granny squares with my 7mm hook. It's just kind of like my favorite size. And this is just a size 4 medium weight yarn. The caveat to that is that it's Red Heart Comfort. Red Heart Comfort is a size 4 medium weight yarn, but it's thick. It doesn't function like, say, it's Super Saver, the Red Heart Super Saver, which is also Red Heart, also acrylic, also a size 4, but Comfort is just a thicker yarn. It's just a thicker yarn. So this looked good with the size 7mm hook is what I'm getting at.
Another big thank you to Johanna who gifted a membership.
Thank you, Joanna.
And the winner is Regina.
And Regina, that's wonderful. Regina, I think is how it's pronounced. We have Regina, which is the capital of Saskatchewan is Regina, which is where, but it's probably Regina. You probably go by Regina. I'm going to guess. You can correct us in the chat if we're not right.
Yay!
Very cozy. I love that. I actually.
There's a tutorial for both of those.
Yes, yeah. There's a tutorial on the primrose. There's a tutorial on the scarf.
Oh, another gifted membership from Lori.
Lori, thank you.
And the winner is, oh, you're never going to guess. It's Kim.
It's Kim! No way!
It's the Are We Live Kim.
Great! Aw. That's wonderful. Thanks, guys. Gotta find my needle here. There it is. All right. So back to it. Yeah, we got, so this tutorial came out Friday. I made 12, I think in total. So each square uses about 30 yards. This is also a size 4 medium weight acrylic. I'm going to say, if I'm comparing, this is Pound of Love by Lion Brand. If I'm going to compare Pound of Love by Lion Brand to the other two acrylics in the same weight category that I use the most often, this was my first time using Pound of Love by Lion Brand. I just hadn't picked it up until this point. So it was kind of a nice opportunity to be able to use it. And we really appreciate the sponsor from Lion Brand. That was really cool. So it was kind of fun to be able to try a different acrylic, because I like acrylics. I would say this is closest to the Bernat Premium that I like to use. Bernat Premium is also 100% acrylic. It's a size 4 medium weight. In Canada, I think it's only available at Walmart. At least that's the only place I found it. It's a super soft acrylic yarn. I love it, and I love the colors. This might be my new favorite in the acrylic size 4 weight category, because it's really soft. I was surprised at how soft and kind of buttery it feels. It's really nice. And it's a little thinner than your typical Red Heart Super Saver. Like, it's same weight category, size 4, but I feel like it's just a little thinner. Probably the exact same size as the Spring Green. The Red Heart Super Saver Spring Green is the thinnest of the Super Saver yarns. And I mean, we're talking marginal amounts of weight difference, but I'd say this is exactly the same size as that, except that the white, the antique white I'm using, is a little bit thicker than the pastel pink, just enough that I can tell. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So Butterfly Dolphin Crochet is a membership, and the winner is, ding ding ding, Tracy.
Tracy! Oh my gosh, thanks, guys. That's so fun.
Let everyone know, none of us have control over who gets it.
Yeah.
You just have to be in the chat.
Like we said earlier, it's the YouTube algorithm kind of it hands out. So if somebody purchases a gift, the YouTube algorithm distributes it, and it distributes it based on a whole bunch of factors. One, you have to have accept gifts turned on. Two, it looks at how much you watch of the channel, maybe how long you've been sort of subscribed, bunch of little things like that, and it kind of just randomly hands them out that way. So we have no idea who's going to win, and it's basically like winning something. We have no idea who's going to get it, and the people sitting watching have no idea who's going to get it. So it's a fun little thing. I like that they added that. It's really cool.
Summer wanted to share with the community that she and Jordan eloped. Whoa!
Oh my gosh, how romantic!
Wow, how romantic!
Oh my goodness!
Are you going to share the details, or just
no, maybe not all the details.
Not all the details. Just 70% of the details.
Oh my gosh, it's so romantic.
Okay, your secret is safe with
yes.
us here at InStitches Family.
Your romantic secret is safe with us. I like that. That is so sweet. Oh my gosh. All right, that is second last one. I thought too, I might take the opportunity just to remind everybody, if you're not too familiar with our website, Mr. InStitches and I have an actual website, JaydaInStitches.com, and we've got a bunch of free patterns there. So if you're learning how to read patterns, it's a good place to start, because you can download a bunch of patterns free, and almost every single one of them has a tutorial that goes with it. So you can read the pattern while watching the tutorial and get an idea for how all that sort of works together. We also have, because Kimberly messaged something earlier today or yesterday, and I thought I'd bring it up. We also have a tools page on our website that has a whole bunch of really helpful charts. So stuff that in my crochet journey, I've been like, you know what? I want to have, there's a bunch of things I just like to have in one place, sort of like a translation chart for British or UK terminology and the US terminology, a translation chart for different sized crochet hooks, like what one hook is called in different places. One of the things that Kim was asking about was like what all the labels on yarn mean, like, or what the symbols on yarn labels mean. So like these things here, all those like symbols, what they mean. They're all wash and care. So like that's the temperature that you can machine wash it, or that's the temperature of the water you should wash it in. This an X through a triangle means no bleach. The little circle in a square means it's machine washable. The X on an iron means don't iron it, and A I think means acrylic. But we've got, there's a lot of different symbols that come up on yarn labels, and we've got an entire chart that demonstrates like what all those are over on the tools page. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, including some printable things like little charts that you might find helpful, or little like checklists and stuff. So if you've not checked out the tools page on our website, I encourage you to do so. And the whole website, we've got all sorts of fun little things going on there. We're always kind of fiddling with it. Every so often we go, it's time to add some stuff to this page or overhaul this page, and we're always looking for suggestions. So that's kind of like a fun place where we try to compile a bunch of our crochet stuff. So charts, tools, some free patterns, helpful tips. There's some useful tutorials there. There's a members page there for the Silk and Vicuña members. There's a whole bunch of things. We just kind of keep trying to add to that website to just kind of create a bit of a sort of encyclopedia that goes along with our YouTube channel, and kind of helps direct people to all of the resources we have here on YouTube, our Etsy shop, additional resources that we have no other place to put. So we've been able to put them and compile them onto the website. So yeah, that's kind of a fun place to hang out if you've not had a chance to go there, or if you're looking for something that you might think, I don't understand what this means, or how to read a color chart, stuff like that. It's all there on that tools page. And we add to that quasi regularly. All right, I've got one more to go here. So let's get this going. We'll attach it here.
Some of our members are saying I need a microphone.
We're working on that.
I like being down here in the well.
We do need a.
The mic doesn't like it though. The mic doesn't want to be down here.
Yeah, it's a bit damp. We do.
Ooh, another membership gift from Tori.
Thank you, Tori.
And the winner is ding 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 Rose.
Rose, congratulations! Oh my gosh, it's so fun. We are experimenting with some new tech. We are probably going to need to get, like, we'd like to have a microphone on Mr. InStitches, but you have to. We have to kind of balance that. So
I'm sorry, Catherine.
Catherine.
The winner.
Catherine.
I'm getting mixed up here.
Not
congratulations to Catherine.
Congratulations to Catherine. It's not hard to do. It's a confusing little chat. If anybody was watching the sort of the gaming and crochet session we had on Mr. InStitches channel, you can tell that we're fiddling with microphones and trying to figure out how to have us heard, and also in the case of Mr. InStitches channel, have the bit of game sound playing, because he's not playing with headphones on or anything. It's more of a hangout session over on his channel than like a intense gaming thing. So the sound and our voices, like, we're trying to kind of mix the two together, and we're fiddling with microphones. So we might need a new one. We might need two. If we end up hooking up two, then that changes how we have to hook up the software. And then that also means we need extra room. So if we're trying to kind of get the two of us back into a similar room, then every time we add a new piece of tech, we end up with needing more space.
I don't understand. I guess no one likes it that I'm down the well.
Aw.
I like being down in the well.
It's kind of
quiet.
It's like a man cave.
Jayda throws me food once in a while.
It's a literal man cave.
Drops down the bucket of fresh water. Well, sometimes it's fresh.
You're in a well. I don't need to give you any water at all.
It's a dry well.
You should have all the water you need.
It's a dried out well.
It's a dried out well.
Yeah. That's create the storyline here.
How's it going down there?
Well, it's a very busy chat.
Yeah.
There's membership gifting left, right, and center.
Thank you guys. That is so fun.
Membership gifting is on fire today.
That is so fun.
So there's lots of gifters and lots of winners, and
it's fun.
Lots of excited longtime subscribers are winning, which is awesome.
That's wonderful. Oh my gosh. So
yeah.
the algorithm works sometimes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I think what it does is if you probably have to be subscribed, and you obviously have to be in the live feed, in the chat watching
while it happens.
Yeah, I think those are two of the main things.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That is so fun.
I came in to tell you something, but I've totally forgot.
Was it a question? Was it?
I don't know.
You'll think of it.
I'll think of it. Oh, how long do you want to go today? Because we're over an hour.
Yes, actually, I was just going to call it because I'm just finishing off my last square. I was going to ask if there were any pertinent questions that maybe I could answer.
Well, there were quite a few, but I only got to a couple.
Okay.
We'll have to do the usual.
Well, I can
just put them in the comments, and they'll get answered for sure.
Two things. You can put them in the comment section beneath this video or any other video, because we do try to get to all the comments. If it's about any of the patterns in our Etsy shop, you can ask us at the Etsy shop too. And if you're kind of timid and shy and you don't like leaving comments in a public space, then you please feel free to pop into the Etsy shop and message us there, because that's all private. So you don't have to worry about, I know a lot of people are shy, so that's fine. And that's
another gift from Nico. Nico's been gifting all kinds of memberships today.
Nico is
just like doing that thing, that
money gun,
throwing it out.
Thank you, Nico.
The gifting memberships, it's great. I have to go see who won.
That is so sweet. Okay, quick summation here, guys.
We're getting more gifts.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Wow, look at this.
Everybody.
Big thank you to Butterfly. Big thank you to Tori again.
Tori and Butterfly.
And the congratulations to the winners. Denise, Carrie, and Maeve.
Denise, Carrie, and Maeve?
Yeah.
Guys, thank you. Welcome to all the new members. We hope you have fun. Make sure you check out the community tab on our YouTube channel. So you can always get to the homepage of our YouTube channel by clicking on Jayda InStitches, the name under the video, takes you to the homepage. And then you'll see all the tabs, videos, playlists, live streams, all that stuff. Look for community, and that's the community tab. And you can check out all of the members' posts that are pertinent to you. And all of the regular subscriber posts too, because we do subscriber posts as well. There's all sorts of kind of fun stuff. We do polls and we do some sneak peeks, and we have some fun behind the scenes photographs. I'm experimenting now with some shorts for members. We'll see how that goes. We have a lot of fun over there, and that's where everything lands originally. And like anything for the family members lands there first, and then if we need to take you elsewhere for something, like we put something on the website or there's something going on in the Etsy shop or whatever, we always put it on the tab first, the community tab. So that's where to go if you're a member and also if you're a subscriber. So we have stuff for everybody there. I've got all 4 of my rows of my polka dot blanket sewn together. I'm going to now stitch together all of the rows. Same thing, same mattress stitch. We've got a tutorial on the mattress stitch, which goes for that stitch technique that we used to stitch together all of our Tunisian squares from last year's calendar blanket. That's the mattress of the ladder stitch. It works on any granny square that's got stitching along the edge, and they all do. So you can use that on any granny square motif, and you can use it on other shaped motifs too that have sides, like a hexagon or an octagon, triangle, stuff like that. I'm going to join my rows using the same technique. We're going to highlight it again in the tutorial that's coming. It's part 2 of this baby blanket. So we're going to show you how I'm putting them together. You can use any join method you like. It's just depends on the flavor of the blanket that you're making. So you can sew them together, you can stitch them together, whatever you like. And then we're going to have a little border for this too. So we're going to wrap up this little project early this week, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there. Friday, this coming week, is the first Friday in March. So it's Calendar Blanket Friday. We're going to have the March installment. I'm literally looking at it on the craft table right now. Wouldn't you love to know what it is? Tune in Friday to see what it is. We're getting to that point in the year with the calendar blanket, and this is one of those calendar blankets where we're starting to just like some fun extra ideas and things are coming in. So look forward to some interesting posts about that. All this week, we're going to be sharing in the community post section of YouTube. We're going to be sharing members and other subscribers blankets thus far. So people have been really great about popping into the Etsy shop and sending us photographs. We will always ask you if you are okay with us sharing a photo if we want to share it. Like if we don't share them all because a lot come in, but there's just so many neat February update pictures from people that we've been asking, and many of you have been really great about saying that we can share them. So thank you. We'll always ask because we know that not everybody is, not everybody likes to put it out there, and we understand. But we will be sharing some of those in the community tab this week because there are just so many awesome iterations of this year's calendar blanket, so many fun color combinations, so many neat ways that people are using the 2 graphs. I mean, we're only 2 months in and already there are so many different looking blankets. It's just, it fills my heart. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm excited to bring some of those out for everybody to see. That'll be coming all this week as we head towards Friday. Yeah, we'll also post pertinent video links in today's description box and also the pinned comment. It'll be Friday's square tutorial. If you missed it, we'll make sure that's linked below. And also the Tunisian mattress or ladder stitch joining video, because that's exactly the concept I'm using to join these together. So we'll put that down there too. So if you're working along at the same speed that I am, or you're working on putting together another granny square blanket and you're looking forward to a new border tutorial for your blanket, that is part of part 2 of this blanket project. So if you want to get a head start, you've made all your squares, you can join them, and then look forward to the blanket tutorial, which is, or the second part of that tutorial, which is coming Monday or Tuesday. I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Thank you to everybody who has sent us a little super chat or a super sticker. I'm going to take a look at those. I know Mr. InStitches gets to see them while we're sitting here crocheting, but I get to take a look at them later. And thank you, everybody who has taken part in this gifting of memberships. Congratulations to everybody who won one. It's such a fun thing that YouTube's done for us. I see they've rolled out another fun little live chat thing called Q&A. We're going to do a little research into that and see how it works. So YouTube is having fun kind of bringing out some more fun interactive features, which we're looking forward to experimenting with. Most of the experimenting with tech and such we are going to be trying to do on the Mister's channel. He'll sit and play a video game while I do some crochet. It's kind of a reversal. I get to actually pay attention to the chat while Mr. kind of plays a video game. So if you are into the hangout sessions of just a little bit of gaming, so you're kind of watching just a fun, sweet little video game story unfold in front of you, and a bit of crochet at the same time, if you want to put your feet up and do catch up on your whips, please feel free to subscribe to Mr. InStitches channel. We'll link that below as well. You don't have to, but that's kind of where we have some fun little experiments over there. We do some fun little.
You have to hang out in the well with.
You have to hang out in the well with both of us.
You have to come to the well.
Yeah, you're gonna be down the well with both of us over there. Also, if he tries to put up the odd little technique tutorial, like technical know-how YouTube tutorial. So if you're trying to figure out things like how to change the photograph of your little avatar, he's put up some handy little tutorials for that. So just little helpful technical things that people have asked us on this channel over the years, and we didn't want to put those videos onto a crochet channel. We thought it might be a bit confusing. So Mr. InStitches has created them and he's put them on his own channel. So yeah, you can feel free to pop over and check that out if you want. Slightly different flavor over there, but Mr. InStitches is Mr. and I'm Mrs. So and the two meet occasionally. That's it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on Saturday. Have a safe and crafty evening. We will see you in a couple days for part 2 of the baby blanket. Stay warm. I know a lot of you are in frigid temperatures. I am actually going to go jump in the shower as soon as we're done here. I'm going to stitch this blanket together. I'm going to go have a hot shower. And then maybe make something hot to eat too. Woohoo! Take care. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you in the comment section. We'll see you over at the Etsy shop. This pattern will be coming up as soon as part 2 is published, the video. So Tuesday, Wednesday, but we'll also make a post about that. And that's the news from the craft room for Saturday, February the 25th. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Have a lovely evening, a great week, and we will see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.